Welcome back to the Let's Talk Business podcast. Today, we're going to be spotlighting a couple of local business owners. In studio with us today is Carlos De Leon, owner of Delxico Consulting, a company that provides business coaching, leadership training, social media management, and LinkedIn lead generation. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how's business? Business is going pretty good for you out there?
Business is going really good.
Fast and furious.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Lead generation stuff, is that going good too?
Lead generation, I just started giving that recently, but I don't know, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's actually growing quite well.
All right, love to hear it. Also in studio with us today is Matt Nelson, owner of Peachtree Rose Marketing, a company that provides web design, search engine optimization, content creation, as you're seeing some of that here, email marketing, and direct mail campaigns. He's also the owner of this beautiful podcast studio that we operate in every week. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks again, Mark. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, pleasure to have you here. Of course, I'm your host, Mark Ebinger, the owner of Krukus Virtual Staffing, a company that provides or recruits and staffs experience overseas administrative assistance for insurance agents who need help with policy management, claims processing, and client communication, that all-important customer service aspect. One of my clients was talking about how he is or she is utilizing her virtual assistant to reach out to existing clients for upsell, cross-sell opportunities.
Nice.
Hey, how'd you like our service? And by the way, this is what we're doing. And paid for her virtual assistant right off the bat. It's just like an effective use of that VA's talents and abilities. But Carlos, so tell us a little bit about your background, how you ended up at Delxico.
Sure. Well, most of my background is in operations and manufacturing. I worked in the corporate world for 25 plus years for the same company. Started from the bottom up and I worked my way up. For the last 15 years, I had very high positions. I was VP of operations, VP of supply chain, VP of manufacturing in several different divisions. So that kind of planted the seed to what I wanted to do at the end. So in 2016, I decided to leave that corporate world and, try something new. And I kid you not, all I did was change my LinkedIn profile that says that I was no longer a VP of operations. I was a consultant. I had no idea what I was going to do. I told at this time we were in Chicago, my wife and I told her, you want to move somewhere warmer? And we chose San Antonio. A week later, I get a message through LinkedIn saying, hey, we see that you're a consultant. You have a lot of experience in manufacturing, specifically of medical devices. So we want to talk to you. That's how Delxico was born. I kind of scrambled to get my name. I picked the name out of the hat. Got my tax ID, and they became my first client. They stayed with me for over 2 years, and that's how it all started. It started more of a consulting company. So I'm going to be 9 years young in the consulting and coaching world. About 3 years ago, I started shifting a little more into the small business coaching, and that's really where my happy place is.
So then tell me about your small business coaching. How do you approach it, maybe that's unique in that space?
Yeah, so I developed my own method, and I call it FORM. And I looked at 4 different aspects of the business. The first one is we look at your financial basics, and I call it financial basics mastering. So kind of teach you how to get a hold of your financials and your business. The second one is optimizing your unique selling proposition, really your marketing, what makes you you and unique. The third one is optimizes your process and systems. That's really preparing your business so it runs without you. And the last one, to me, the most important one, is the motivating and building your team. So ultimately what I teach and what I sell, if you want to call it selling, is I teach business owners or entrepreneurs how to run their business without them. Ultimately, that's what I do. So I end up with 2 very distinct types of clients. On the one end, a very successful entrepreneur, either with one very successful business or several, but it's still prisoner of their own success. They're working 80, 90 hours a week, don't know how to scale that, can't let go. So I end up teaching them how to delegate, how to lead, how to set up their business with systems and processes so they can step back.
Yeah, and that's starting with the end in mind. have an exit strategy, whether it's giving it to your kids or if it's selling it or whatever else. Something that you didn't mention was how you approach, or do you even approach branding strategy with respect to your clients, or is that something that maybe you'd partner with a branding company to help with that? Because that's super important as well.
Well, that is part of the second
The O.
part of the form. The optimizing your unique selling proposition. We looked at the branding, but my approach is a bit different because what I do is I get to know the human behind the business. I make it a point to get to know who you are, your kids, what do you like, your hobbies. I spend a lot of time with you asking a lot of personal questions because if I don't understand the person behind the business, it's going to be very difficult for me to help them. And you can't just paint everybody with the same brush, right? We're all different. Even if you're doing the same thing or selling the same thing, at the end of the day, your own personality, your own uniqueness has to be part of your branding. So I'm not an expert in branding, but I know how to get it started, and I do partner up with professional that I can do branding and pair them up. As a coach, I do a lot of that. I pair up with the masters for whatever they need. I kind of get them started. So I'm not a financial whiz by any means. I understand the how to run a business, but if somebody needs a financial whiz, I have a partner that I can, set them up with and say, hey, you need to speak to this person because they're the expert. They're going to help take you to a completely different level, right? So,
how are you currently marketing your business?
So I do a lot of my own marketing, only because I like to learn just about everything. So I do my happy place is LinkedIn, and that's why I started offering that because I kind of mastered it. And I made every mistake in the book. I became that pushy sales guy. I started spamming everybody. But I just kept learning and learning. I found a few people that their message kind of resonated with me and how they do their things. And I'm just kind of learning from them and copying them. So for the past, I would say 6 months, I completely shifted the way I do the marketing. And I think it's called broadcasting marketing, where all I do is I basically give away everything that I know. A lot of content where I just teach how to do things. I give away literally everything that I know. And that completely shifted the mindset. So now I'm being, instead of me chasing after a client or a lead, they're coming to me as the expert because of all the content.
Right, because you're showing your authority and you're not spending your time chasing people that want to DIY it anyway.
Correct.
Yeah, because that's just like a money pit right there.
And that ends
Time
up happening anyway. There's very few people that are going to take what you teach them and run with it. Very few. The majority don't want to do it.
Or they'll run themselves into a wall at some point because they don't have enough time or expertise.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many times they come back to me and say, I followed everything you gave me. I followed everything that that I downloaded from your website, but I'm stuck. Where do I go? And I help them. I said, well, do this, do that. And they try it and they come back and say, you know what? You do it. You do it for me.
So I like all that. All right, Carlos, well, if folks want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So you can go to my website, www.delxico.com, or you can call my cell number is 847-650-6972, and I'll be happy to have a chat with you.
All right. Well, thanks, Carlos. We appreciate that. All right, Matt. So, Matt, you obviously involved in a lot of things, and you're good at a lot of them. This is an impressive setup that you got out here. So give me a quick overview of some of your core services that you're providing right now.
Sure. Thanks, Mark. Owner of Peachtree Rose Marketing. So obviously content marketing is strong with us. That's one of our biggest core services. That's why we built the podcast studio, because you can repurpose it for things like social media, search engine optimization, long form, short form. Social media is another one, direct mail, email marketing. I have a passion in terms of technical expertise for marketing for search engine optimization. It works really well in the content marketing space. YouTube, and not everybody knows this, but YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, owned by the largest search engine in the world, Google. So unlike other places for podcasting, YouTube offers a lot more in terms of analytics, stuff that you can track how well you're resonating with your audience, how engaged you are to your audience. But also, it gives you the best platform to be able to search engine optimize your content and build that parasocial relationship with somebody behind a mic and a camera. So, passion for podcasting in terms of our core services, of course.
And you get people that we all see them they're all excited about doing a podcast, and they'll do 4 episodes, and that's just all we hear from them.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so, I mean, that's a given. But then there's also what happens after the podcast is done. So how do you approach that in a way that most people don't think about?
Sure. I think, you've been with us in this studio for over a year and a half now. And originally, when we built out the studio, we built it out for our own content marketing efforts and those of our clients. We opened it up very sparingly to DIY, just studio rental. And we've tried to push back on some of those as we could. We like to be involved as much as possible in either or both, preferably the post-production and editing, as well as the actual marketing of the podcast. And a lot of that boils down to content strategy, being able to work with people on whether or not their personality is genuine. I think some of the ones that I've seen fail fast in terms of podcasts, they come in thinking they have to be the Grant Cardone and salesy person, or they come in thinking that a podcast has to be the talking head video and it's just one person. Where it really succeeds is having a conversation and having, somebody else with you in the room. It could just be, a host and a co-host. But as a great case study, I mean, your own brand, the Let's Talk Business podcast, you've soared exponentially in terms of your viewership. A big part of that is organically because having a new person come in as a subject matter authority in their industry, you're inheriting their audience every time. They're going to tell, they're going to tell their neighbor, they're going to tell their friends, their family, hey, I was on this podcast, come check it out. And every time that happens and somebody gets a little bit more familiar with your brand, you're the guy hosting the show, which is great. And even beyond that, if you don't host your own podcast, but you're just looking to get out there, I think there's a lot of potential for getting an audience with your brand and kind of building that parasocial relationship behind a mic and a camera just by being a guest on somebody's podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to start the podcast, right? Because, I mean, that's a lot of heavy lifting. We've done probably 600 interviews, over 350 shows over the last 2.5 years. And, it's a lot of work.
Persistence.
Yeah, you got to love it, just like with any business, right? You got to really love it in order to do it. So beyond podcasting and SEO, you also mentioned is really kind of your love on the SEO side. How do you approach it that is different and that is effective than maybe other SEO? Because I mean, I network a lot. I do web SEO, web SEO.
Yeah.
How do you approach it?
Sure. Thanks. So I think this is we're sitting in one of the ways that's a unique value proposition in which, we are handling SEO. I think with the advent of ChatGPT, you found that small businesses and startups in particular, everybody bootstrapping to do their own marketing. Everybody thinks they're an SEO expert because you can spend 5 minutes with ChatGPT and you can have a blog post, right? Google knows that, and to combat that, they've got the generative search experience, which is AI combating AI to say, okay, all of this AI fluff, nobody cares about it. So your content that's out there is just huge now. With the advent of ChatGPT. To cut through the noise, you really have to focus on a few other things. So where we've been able to most successfully incorporate an organic SEO strategy is when you also have some video content, you're able to layer into it. And we talked about a couple of things. We talked about business consultation. We've talked about marketing. If we have a blog article that's niching down into any of those topical pieces from an SEO standpoint, and you've got a 2-minute segment from that 20-minute podcast that's very specific to that, you embed that, and it's SEO optimized on YouTube, but it's also SEO optimized on the page in your article. I mean, you've got gold from an SEO standpoint. But to your point, the larger market formula, you're not coming across as salesy. You're that expert who's teaching somebody along the way, and that's how you tackle the larger market formula.
Yeah, if you can grow your business by delivering value, I mean, obviously that's what people want. People don't want to be sold, right? They want to buy.
Exactly.
So, all right. So, Matt, anything else you wanted to get out on the floor before we wrap up?
Yeah, so looking forward to the Let's Talk Business, podcast mixer, but also we've got our newest client, Collabifier, and this is a new space in marketing that we've really tested, and it works out really well. It's waitlist marketing and assessment-based marketing. It's where you're able to build supply and demand tension before a product or service is ready for market early on by kind of having that waitlist. So there's a marketing play there. Or assessment-based marketing. We have one now for podcasting specifically. You're able to answer 13 questions to see if you're able to launch a podcast or are there actionable steps that you can take beforehand. And what that does for the person on the back end really greases the skids from a sales perspective. Tells you a lot about somebody in terms of lead gen. But for Collabifier, as an example, it's a new software as a service. It's unraveling in 2025. We're using a waitlist marketing approach. And because it's the Let's Talk Business Mixer, I have to mention, October 4th is when the waitlist closes. So we're going to, when I get my time with the mic, I'll mention it again. This is your last chance to join the waitlist. It's a way of bridging the social media growth aspect on kind of a virtual realm, but building genuine referral partnerships and collaboration. So Collabifier, join the waitlist. I'll mention more on the actual event.
So where can folks actually go and learn more about what that software as a service actually does for them?
Yeah, I think right now, the biggest place that I would point to is collabifier.com. And that is the wait list. There's a couple of questions that are answered, taking it out of the proprietary lane. Joining the wait list allows somebody to become an early adopter, gives them access to grandfather pricing, gives them access to say, hey, I want this software to perform this way for me. And that's where the development comes in as well.
So it'll be well explained there what the value proposition
And
is.
anybody on that wait list gets a little bit more behind the scenes in terms of what that looks like.
Is there a cost associated with the wait list?
Right now, no. 2 minutes of your time on average.
So get your name on the list. All right, and then spell out the website.
It's, sorry, my multilingual aspect is going to come to me. So I am literally spelling this out. So it's COLLIBIFYR.com.
Right,
Collabifier.
That'll help my team when they're putting it together.
Yep.
All right, Matt, thanks. I appreciate that. If folks want to get in touch with you other than the website, how else can they do that?
So peachtreerosemarketing.com, Matt at peachtreerosemarketing.com, 2 T's. Or you can give us a call at 210-390-6404.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming in on short notice. I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing you guys at the Mega Mixer, which is going to be 250 people on one spot. There's going to be lots of sponsor tables going on so people can continue to learn and engage with you guys. And there's going to be a lot of food, a lot of drink, a lot of fun. I'm excited. October 3rd, 2024. All right, as we wrap up, a quick reminder, check out our latest podcast and catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for this one. You guys have a great week. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Take care.